a lot of pianos playing today. Last year, at this stage, I also played piano, but with a specific piece that I arranged it. I'm gonna play it for you right now. For those of you might recognize this piece because it's quite well known, but for those of you didn't know the piece, I want you to think about a scene that can be described by this piece of music. That's it. I can't play for too long because I still have to speak. For this piece, I did with the Chinese ensemble in our school. And you might wonder why. Because for those who know this piece, it's called Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, written by the Japanese composer Ryuichi Sakamoto. So the story is, when I was on a train from London to Oxford, I heard the fearful message that Ryuichi Sakamoto passed away in last April. I felt really bad about it. So the moment I decide I'm gonna write an arrangement for the commemorate of him. So the first idea come up in my mind is orchestra, because I love classical music. I listen to them most oftenly in my life. So the idea of me creating an arrangement is of course what I like. So I did first come up with the arrangement of orchestral arrangement of Merry Christmas, Miss Lawrence. But the result turns out to be not very outstanding among all the arrangement we already have for the piece. Because most of the arrangement, I mean, basically all of the arrangement of this piece is written in a Western orchestral form. So I didn't find what's special about me, what's special about my piece. I feel really confused at the moment. I don't know where to proceed forward, because I want the piece to be presented to the school or even to the bigger stage I might potentially have. So luckily, I met Mr. Cho, who is the director of the Chinese ensemble in our school. I didn't expect that I can work with the Chinese ensemble because I have no idea before how to work with Chinese instruments. I never learned any Chinese instrument before. So I showed him my piece just to show him what I did. Just want to share, basically. But he told me that I can't actually work with the Chinese instruments. I wonder why. Because I know that Chinese instrument is very specific, tuned into pentatonics. So most of the Western music parts cannot be played by the Chinese pentatonic. But he told me that Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, it's actually a pentatonic scale music. At the moment I knew it, I'm gonna do it with the Chinese ensemble. The Chinese ensemble is a big ensemble we had, and with many different types of instruments, but it's very different from the Western orchestras or whatever we have in the school bands. So I don't know how to proceed, but all I know is I want to make it perfect, because that's my arrangement. I spent 2 weeks fixing the music that fits into the ensemble. But as the work progressed, I realized there is obstacles. The obstacles were, how do I merge the Western instruments and the Chinese instruments together? Because I tend to keep the French horn and bass clarinets where I wrote in the orchestra edition into the Chinese ensemble, which seems ridiculous at the first place. So I told my bass clarinet player, I took her to the rehearsal. At the moment she saw different types of Chinese instruments, she asked me, am I really gonna work with them? Because she never worked with Chinese instruments ever before. She have no idea, and actually me have no confidence that I'm gonna do it really good at the first place. But I told her that I still have French horns in another day. I'm gonna rehearse with her, so she won't be the only victim in this. Other things is that in a music ensemble, you're not only work with the instrumentations, you're not only work with the musics, but who you're actually working with is people. You must find their paces. You must have the people gather together. You must have their contributions in this ensemble so you can have the work done. That's the most difficult part. But I didn't realize it at the first place. So I wrote very much intense part for especially my French horn player. For those who have some experience with brasses, it's not an easy instrument, but I wrote very intense part for him. And in the performance, he was left for quite a while, and he don't have the time to warm up his mouth. So come straight in, the intense parts makes him really struggle at the first place. It doesn't sound really good as well. So there were some obstacles as well. So the night before the actual concert, I could hardly get to sleep. Because the excitement and confusions I have, I'm worrying that I'm gonna mess it up, because it was challenging to me. It was the first time I'm doing my own arrangement in front of all this audience we had last December. So I was really nervous. The excitement and nervous is combined together. It was like a caffeine. Didn't get me to sleep much that night. But still, I got up to stage. And when I pressed the first key of the piece, which is E6 on the piano keyboard, I can't think of anything. I can't feel anything. All in my brain is blank, basically. Until I press the last chord in the piece, I still can't feel nothing. It's just like I don't know what's happening. All I'm doing is it's muscle memories, basically. So at the moment I walk downstage and see my friends and teachers, they are telling me that, Tony, good job, you have done it. So I gradually have the feeling that, oh, I really did it. So that's when the happiness and and the excitement comes up into my mind, and that's where That's how I did in this piece. That's basically my story. However, I'm still gonna show you this piece, but with a little section of areas. So please welcome Catherine and Oliver back on stage to perform again for you. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.